Exclusive, Cubs fans. A bombshell just dropped, and the news Cubs fans have been waiting for has finally arrived. You are not going to believe this. But before I reveal this bombshell information, my fellow Cubby, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can always stay up to date with the latest Cubs news. After weeks of concern and one of the scariest scenes of the season, right-hander Edward Cabrera is back. He is ready to put on the Chicago Cubs uniform again and take the mound at one of the most important moments of the season. Manager Craig Counsell confirmed it. Cabrera will be activated this Sunday to face the St. Louis Cardinals. Yes, Cubs fans, you heard that right. The arm that seems so far away from returning to the field is back exactly when every win is becoming even more important in the Cubs' postseason push. And there is one detail that makes this comeback even more impressive. When Cabrera was taken off the field on a stretcher after that serious thigh injury, Cubs fans were completely stunned. The scene was frightening, the impact was immediate, and nobody knew when the right-hander would be available again. As the season moved forward, the rotation had to find answers. Now, less than 2 months later, that answer is arriving in a way that could absolutely ignite Wrigley Field. Cabrera isn't simply coming back. He is returning with signs that he may be ready to compete at a high level immediately. In his most recent AA rehab appearance, the pitcher delivered an impressive performance. 5 perfect innings, allowing no hits while recording 7 strikeouts. It's the kind of outing that makes every fan wonder, could the major reinforcement the Cubs needed have been waiting right there on the injured list? And this return could be huge. When the season reaches its most important stage, rotation depth stops being a luxury and becomes a necessity. Now the Cubs are getting back a pitcher who can add strength and quality to the mound. But there is one question that will dominate the conversation until Sunday. How much will Cabrera be able to give the Cubs in his very first game back? That's the biggest unknown. Dominating a rehab appearance is one thing. Facing the speed, pressure, and intensity of an MLB game is something completely different. The Cardinals won't make it easy, and every pitch will be watched closely. Even so, the signs are extremely encouraging. 7 strikeouts over 5 innings without allowing a single hit during his rehab appearance are numbers that cannot be ignored. They show that Cabrera is regaining his confidence and his ability to attack hitters. For a team searching for answers, this comeback could not have arrived at a better time. And just picture the scene. Cubs and Cardinals, Wrigley Field, the crowd fired up, and Edward Cabrera returning to the mound after an injury that appeared capable of keeping him out for much longer. His return could also change the way Counsell manages the rotation. With Cabrera available again, the manager gains an option that has been missing for weeks and another important piece to help the Cubs navigate the decisive stretch of the season. And here is the part that may excite Cubs fans the most. If Cabrera can turn the confidence he showed during his rehab into MLB production, the Cubs could be getting much more than simply a recovered pitcher. They could be getting a major reinforcement at exactly the moment they need one the most. Of course, caution is still necessary. One rehab appearance does not automatically guarantee dominance in the majors. But nobody can ignore what he just did. 5 perfect innings, 0 hits allowed, and 7 strikeouts. The Cubs aren't just getting a pitcher back. They are getting an important piece back at a time when the margin for error is becoming smaller and smaller. Because when a player returns from a frightening injury and immediately shows that kind of confidence during his rehab, it's impossible not to imagine the impact he could have on the rest of the season. Sunday is set. The Cardinals will be on the other side, and all eyes will be on the mound. Now we want to hear from you. Could Edward Cabrera be the missing piece that makes the Cubs even stronger down the stretch? Do you trust him in big games? Yes or no? It's time for Cubs fans to speak up. Leave your answer in the comments and join the conversation. And remember, subscribe to the channel because here you can follow all the rumors, trade talks, signings, and breaking Chicago Cubs news as soon as it happens. While Cubs fans celebrate Cabrera's recovery and think about what he could deliver in the coming games, Jed Hoyer's front office already has to look ahead to a problem that could explode right after this season ends. 2 important names on the roster are getting closer and closer to a decisive point in their contracts. And once you find out who those 2 players are, you'll understand why the future of the Cubs outfield could be about to change completely. The warning involves 2 names every fan knows very well, Suzuki and Happ. Both are entering the final stretch of their contracts and at the end of this season, could become free agents. In practical terms, that puts Jed Hoyer and the Cubs front office in front of a brutal decision. Re-sign their stars before the market opens or risk losing 2 important pieces without receiving anything in return. And we're not simply talking about 2 players who occupy spots on the roster. Suzuki and Happ represent production, experience, clubhouse presence, and an identity that fans have already associated with the team. If both leave at the same time, the impact won't be just statistical. It would be a major change in the makeup of the roster. Now imagine the scenario. The Cubs reach the end of 2026 and suddenly have to find replacements for both players. All of a sudden, the front office would have to find offensive production, experience, and stability on the market. And that could cost a lot of money. That's exactly where Jed Hoyer's biggest dilemma begins. Is it worth opening the checkbook to keep both players? Or would it be smarter to accept the risk of losing one or even both and bet on a new generation? Because the Cubs are not without alternatives. The organization has young talent that could earn opportunities and completely change the equation. Kevin Alcantara and Owen Casey naturally enter the conversation when we talk about the future of the outfield. They represent exactly the kind of bet a franchise needs to make when thinking beyond a single season. But there's a huge difference between having potential and being ready to take on a massive responsibility in MLB. That's why fans need to pay close attention to the next few months. The Cubs' 2027 planning has already begun inside the front office, even while the current season is still being played. Every decision made now could determine what we see at Wrigley Field next year. And there is a third possibility that could set everything on fire: a blockbuster signing. If the front office decides it cannot afford to risk losing Suzuki and Happ at the same time, but also doesn't want to commit an enormous amount of money to 2 extensions, the Cubs could enter the market looking for a different solution. A new outfield name could emerge, completely changing the picture. But is that really the direction Jed Hoyer intends to take? The big issue is that the Cubs have to make a choice. They simply can't ignore the situation. If Suzuki and Happ reach free agency, other teams will be ready to talk to them. And when multiple clubs enter the bidding, the balance of negotiating power can change very quickly. For fans, that creates a mix of anxiety and anticipation. On one side, there's the desire to see 2 established figures remain in Chicago. On the other, there's the curiosity to find out whether the Cubs' next big star is already inside the organization or whether the front office will surprise everyone with a major signing. What we do know is that the clock is ticking. Suzuki and Happ are approaching a decisive moment in their careers in Chicago, and the front office has to think far beyond 2026. An extension could guarantee continuity. A bet on the young players could open the door to a new era. An outside signing could completely change the balance of the roster. Any one of those choices will have consequences. So, Cubs fans, pay attention. While everyone is watching what happens on the field, one of the most important decisions for the team's future is being built behind the scenes. The outfield could be on the verge of a massive transformation, and it could all begin with the futures of Seiya Suzuki and Ian Happ. Now I want to hear from you, Cubs fans. If you had to choose today, should the Cubs do everything possible to re-sign Suzuki and Happ, even if it costs a lot, or should they trust Kevin Alcantara and Owen Casey and make room for a new generation? Yes or no? Don't leave without sharing your opinion. Your participation helps make every discussion even more interesting. And don't forget to subscribe and follow all the latest Chicago Cubs news.